Hello, this is the Nigerian Symposium for Young and Emerging Leaders on Rubbin Minds. My name is Shea Awolowo and I'll be your host. We will be asking questions on our panel today to our two specialists that are in the house today as regards the healthcare sector in the country. You know, this is a special time and I believe special times breed special innovation. Also, this is the time for many people to become innovative. As regards the COVID-19 pandemic that has struck our nation, what did it do? Did it reveal our shortcomings, or has it given us a chance to step up our game on this particular order? Today with me in our panel, we have two specialists that will be speaking about it. So feel free to ask questions as time goes on.
The Nigerian health sector has shown adequate response to COVID-19, and in the process, many of its flaws which many knew internally were revealed to all externally. How do we ensure that the learnings from the impact of a global pandemic are factored in when it comes to policy formulation and implementation for the health interest of the average Nigerian citizen? What can be done to correct the subdued state of the Nigerian health sector? The Secretary General of the Nigerian Medical Association, Dr. Philip Ekpe, and Toby Wojuola, these questions and more up next on Rubbin Minds.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So, as we all know, we are in this pandemic right now. But before that, we had a healthcare system that was supposed to be functioning. With this COVID-19, I would think that it revealed our shortcomings as well as spaces that we could improve on. Doctor, please, would you shed some light on your own perspective of things as regards the healthcare sector?
All right, thank you very much. First of all, we must have something behind our mind when we're talking about these issues of healthcare system. Who are we as Nigerians? Nigeria is a developing country when you compare to the Western world. So you expect that just as it is in every other system, but the healthcare system is developing. So you won't be able to be comparing with maybe already developed countries vis-a-vis UK, US, Italy, France, and the rest of them. Rather, I'd be comparing maybe with countries like India, countries like Ghana, and maybe some other countries, not even South Africa. We must say the truth. I mean, before then, we wouldn't have said that we were so impressed with our healthcare system. But then, it was an evolving scenario, where Nigeria is growing. We have got a myriad of problems, politically and otherwise, corruption issues, which the president of the country is also trying to tackle. Just like every other system have not fared so well, so also is attributable to health. But then, I'm not going to sit down here and say we are stagnant. One thing you must point out is the Nigerian human resources in health is very robust and very wonderful. We've got a whole lot of intelligent and wonderful professionals in this country, that all we needed is more of support from the system. But I must tell you something, that there is no country that can afford the healthcare system. No government can afford the total healthcare system of its country. That is why you need to also involve the private sector. Nigeria, for instance, about 70% of the citizens of this country is being catered for by the private healthcare sector before the public health sector. So how are we doing with the public sector? How are we doing with the private sector is very, very important. I wouldn't say that we are abysmal, but I would rather say that we have not fared so well before COVID-19, but we think we're doing well. However, maybe that would be the next anticipatory, maybe the next question you're going to ask, that how has COVID-19 affected the healthcare system? Of course, it brought out the weakness, but you must also accept that it also brought out the weakness of healthcare system in the United States, even when we term it a developed country. This is because first, COVID-19 is a novel virus. Nobody knows about it before now. So how to tackle it was also not known. And I'm sure you're aware that the last pandemic was around 1918. That was some more or less about a century or more, And so we didn't even think that in our lifetime we're going to come and face it. So it's a new disease that, where we were 3 months ago is not where we are now. Yes, it revealed our weak health system in the country vis-a-vis facilities, infrastructure, not human resources, However, the Nigerian government, the healthcare workers, and the Nigerian people, to some extent, are ready to tackle it. You can see that the Presidential Task Force is doing a great work, meeting every day to see how to resolve the problems. NCDC is doing their own part. The Federal Ministry of Health is doing their own part. All the healthcare workers and their unions, associations are also doing their own part. We also need the Nigerian people, you, I, every other person here, to also do their own part. That is the only way it's going to work. Together, we can be able to maybe deal with this virus. Thank you.
So, Doctor, just 1 second, Mr. Toby, before we get to you. People would say the major, or what would you say is the major problem, the core problem of the Nigerian healthcare system? Is it financial or the human resource aspect of it? Because according to numbers, we have about 72,000 doctors, but it's approximately half of them, about 32,000, that are currently active. And a whole lot of them are vying to go overseas. So what would you say is...
Well, thank you very much. First of all, some years back, the African leaders met and agreed that at least the healthcare budget should be 15%. I will tell you that the highest that has happened is 6%. That, on its own, has reduced the healthcare system. Nigeria is also a system where the healthcare insurance is not functioning very well. We are ahead of NHIS. I'm telling you, up to today, NHIS has not covered beyond 10% of the Nigerian population. And that is because they're able to have the privilege of covering the formal sector. How about the informal sector? I mean, in a good society, the citizens shouldn't be paying from their pocket to access health, because health is a basic need of every citizen of a country. So it's a system problem, in the sense that we don't have enough facilities. In this country, I don't think there is any hospital that has up to 2,000 bedded hospital, compared to what you see in India, in other countries, some 5,000, 10,000. What about, the very highfalutin hospitals where you have strong referrals? They're not there. Even if they're there, they're poorly equipped. So it's time, for the federal government to do its own part by partnering with both the private sector and the public sector to upgrade the facilities such that we'll be able to compete favorably with other countries in the world. Now, you are looking at human resources. In terms of the intellect, in terms of ability, in terms of competence, we are not lacking. But now, I'm telling you that even in the midst of COVID-19, we still have a lot of doctors roaming the streets of Nigeria without job. So how do you expect them not to leave the country when Saudi Arabia, where UK, where US is offering them jobs? I think that is part of the problem we must look at. It's not because they just want to leave. It's because we are not offering them jobs. I know so many that they want to remain in this country and work. How about even the healthcare system? Now, the other day you heard that doctors are going on strike, NAD is going on strike. It's not just because of money. It's because of lack of other things, other factors. Residency Training Act, residency training funding, facilities in the hospital. We all watch television, even for those who are not opportune to travel out. And you can see the difference is clear. In this age of IT with internet, you can see what is going on in other countries. I think it's time that we need to up our game, not just in healthcare system, but everywhere. Education, technology, all and all. COVID-19 has come as a leveler. You can see nobody can travel out. It doesn't respect whether you're old, whether you're young, whether you're rich or whether you're poor. It just comes at you. So it's time we all have to stay here and salvage it. Thank you.
Yeah. So, Mr. Toby, adding to that, as regards the 2020 budget, it states about 4.14% of that budget was allocated to the healthcare sector. And with the question asked, the flaws, were they financial or human resource-wise? What is your take on this?
I think it's largely the like Dr. rightly said, the pandemic itself has startled every country. It has revealed the fragility of every system, whether, like you said, seemingly developed, we're reading tales of the U.S. health system in jeopardy. We're reading tales of the British health system in chaos, of their NHIS or NHS officials telling people to preferably just stay home and treat yourself. It doesn't mean that we are better, but it shows that we have some bit of a potential to do much more than even other countries. Nigeria is a blessed country, and rightly said, our human resources potential are limitless. Over the world, the reason why our healthcare experts are sourced and are like hot cake is simply because we produce some of the best brains, some of the best characters, people who go through a system that is not all the best in terms of facilities, but still come out with sophisticated ideas and are able to solve some of the world's challenges. Across the world, in America and what have you, and around the world, Australia, Britain, Nigerian medical doctors are all found there. But then you now bring it back to the Nigerian situation. I think historically, we have not created an enabling environment to tap into the abundant human resources we have in our medical systems. And this goes beyond financing. Because financing, like he said, it's not just even a government thing. We need to have private investment. You don't expect the federal government to be the one establishing hospitals in every nook and cranny of the country. But have we provided as a government, and I'm talking not just this government, but historically, have we provided the enabling environment financially for business, for those who are looking like an American system, for instance, is a system where health is a business. It's not looked at as a social need. It's looked at as how much can it be, how much can you make, and that's why you have the insurance and all those guys trying to profit off the system, and also the pharmaceuticals as well. We need to have a system in Nigeria where there is a balance between the private, the public. Of course, the private sector will be looking to profit. The public sector, that is government, looking to ensure that social good is achieved. We need to have a coming together of these two. And I think the COVID situation has shown that this partnership can happen and can work. A lot of the donations that we have seen have come from private sector. The banks, the multi-billionaires making donations. We need to also see more investments in the private sector, which I'm referring to. Putting investments in healthcare. When I read stories of hospitals like Aminu Kano Teaching Hospital or the University of Abuja Hospital in Gwagwalada performing surgeries that were perhaps a decade ago thought to be only foreign or alien, but they're doing it. It shows that we have the potentials. If we can expand on this, invest on it, we are going to have a situation where Nigeria can cater for the health needs of African countries. That potential is there.
That being said, the fight against COVID, there can be various approaches, if you would agree with me. Apart from just the financial aspect that goes to where you need to pay for research and pay doctors and researchers, why isn't there a campaign that is educating Nigerians as regards the things they can do in advance? I know, yes, there's the mask wearing, hand sanitizing, but a campaign that drives a much more dietary message that tells them, okay, eat in this direction at the least to help in this direction. Because a number of people just believe they just need to take an injection, or they need to, but like you said, asymptomatic, if I'm pronouncing it right, you don't get to show off, you don't get to showcase the symptoms. So why isn't that the government are trying to, at least, because they can't get out the cure to everybody if a cure does come to light. So why not pass out a message as regards their diets? And also, in Nigeria, we are known for some of our local remedies. Why can't the government also invest into the production of local remedies?
I know there is 100 billion that is marked out,
100 billion,
you know, for anything related to health, including pharmaceuticals, you know, which the health people should assess, you know. Now, it's wanting to make that announcement. It's wanting for that finance to be available. It's wanting to judiciously disburse that fund. It is that judicial disbursement that will become a problem. Government have shown
the due process for the application of the funds.
Exactly, you know. So that is that. Just so to synchronize with my friend, yes, there was an announcement by there is a Catholic place in Ewu in Edo State that talking about a drug, Pabax or whatever. But and they claimed that NAFDAC has approved it, but NAFDAC has also come out with a disclaimer. You know, we got to be careful because of also the Madagascar issue, where, you know, we already agreed here that COVID-19 is a novel virus, and so we don't just want to jump into anything. NAFDAC can approve your research work. Go ahead and research. Okay, use it, ethical issues. But it's okay, we've approved that this drug should be used all over the country. I mean, those are areas that they have to look at, you know. We were talking about agriculture. Yes, it's good to eat good food, but the point now is that we have a problem to solve right now. You understand? You know, we must all agree that Nigeria is a poor economic country. Our budget, the whole country's budget, is not as good as California. But where I want to differ with you, we're talking about percentage. You know, percentage of the, yes, what I'm trying to say. Even if it is 100 billion, let it be as maybe up to 15%, 15 billion. If it is 1 trillion, then the 15% of it, or 10%, what I'm trying to say is 6%. That, you know, so that has been the problem. He has already mentioned, you know, but another thing I would look at is, even if we look at health as an investment, no, we also have to look at it that it is the right of every citizen of this country. And that is why we are appealing to the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria to approve for mandatory health insurance for every Nigerian.
With the points you've hit on, I will be hoping that we have a means of approach moving forward from here on out, because these are the things that our leaders need to hear and need to understand. Yes. I know that you're with the presidential media team, so... But
I've clarified the issue. I know it's been trending that 58 Nigerian doctors were stopped from traveling out because they are trying to maybe leave the country in the midst of COVID. The question I've just told you to look at is, have we employed all the ones we have in this country? We have so many of them that do not have a job. And they're asking you, in short, this period of COVID-19 is a period where you open up the job for healthcare system. Everybody that is a healthcare worker, you understand, because we need them, should come into the system, even if you're going to pay them less. But the problem is that as of this moment, we still have...
Let me just piggyback on that. We must, going forward, not see healthcare as a one-man business, yes, as the business of just the government. At this point in time, there are people who are investing in cement factories and what have you, or rice factories. Let them also think health. We must think health not just as something that we should leave for the government entirely.
Yeah.
It should be something
you did mention that the COVID did bring about a synergy between the government, private sector
absolutely,
as well.
Absolutely.
So I'll be guessing, or I would say that based off that, there are private individuals that have already began
and they should
to divert part of their organizations into the direction of healthcare.
Absolutely.
And the funds from those organizations, so that people can find available healthcare and affordable ones at the same time, if I'm not mistaken.
But we have a fear. We have a fear. Should COVID disappear, are we still going to sustain this drive? It would be a shame. It would be a shame that COVID disappear and we go back to where we were without taking advantage of the exposure of this weak healthcare system.
Well,
we have to mention it here so that those who are listening to us will listen to that, who are watching. It's not an issue of just response because there's COVID. It's an issue of saying
sustainability.
Sustainability. What are the weak systems that we found?
Well, I would believe that they will see it as a foundation for things to be built off on. The COVID is a testing to our foundation and is left to us to repair and adjust every single thing that needs to be done, if you would agree with me on that. Because that's the only way we'll be able to move forward. Fantastic. And with that, we come to an end of this particular segment, the healthcare segment as regards the COVID-19 and the healthcare sector in Nigeria. Hopefully, our leaders will listen to the great words that have been said today, the words of wisdom and knowledge, and attack this situation head on. Because without good health, I don't see how the future is bright.
Absolutely.
And we'll be coming right back with another segment on Rubbin Minds. Please stay tuned, stay blessed. Welcome back, viewers, to the Nigerian Symposium for Young and Emerging Leaders. I'm still the host, Chiaolo, and with me we have another set of dignitaries in the house to discuss with us Nigeria at 60. And on this panel, we will be going into the nitty-gritty of corruption, the decline in our educational sector, amongst a few.
The countdown to Nigeria at 60 is effectively underway. But the big question would be, where do we stand as a people and country when it comes to policy formulation and implementation in matters relating to healthcare, security, food, employment, and the overall welfare of the Nigerian citizen? On Rubbin Minds, Seyi Awolowo talks with Honorable Najib Tafida, Barrister Victor Giwa, and Dare Olauba.
So, Barrister, if you don't mind me starting off with you. We are a few months shy of Nigeria at 60's independence. How have we fared as a nation? Do we have a lack of leadership in Nigeria? For example, people who understand the dynamic nature of Nigeria as a nation?
Well, thank you very much. I will start by saying we have a leadership crisis. We have a leadership issue. And unfortunately for us, especially in recent time, we've had the misfortune of having leaders who really do not appreciate what it means to be leaders. Leaders are to give direction. Leaders are to redefine crisis. Leaders are to provide solutions. So when you have leadership, it is because of the presence of a crisis. So it is not, a leader is not a pastor. A leader is somebody that deals with crisis situation, and it comes with direction. So we've had cases where people who we have bequeathed with the platform of leading us, unfortunately became problems to us. And that is why we are exactly where we are right now.
Okay. Well, since 2009, Nigeria has fought the battle of insecurity. How far would you say we've come, and how much did corruption play? How much of a role do you think corruption played in that fight?
That's a very strong one. Corruption in Nigeria, the role of corruption in terms of insecurity is monumental. I used to say that if you go to some countries, a country like New Zealand, country like Finland, country like UK, and you talk about corruption, what you see and what you hear is that, oh, we want to do a study on corruption. Or somebody, if you talk about corruption, somebody will tell you, okay, we would like to look at what corruption is. But if you want to get a textbook on corruption, it's Nigeria. Because it is not just corruption, it is systemic. That our day-to-day life is defined, by corruption. So if you want to say you are going to get a textbook, Nigeria becomes one. So the various problem of insecurity is not just insecurity in itself, it's the issue of corruption. And what are the elements of the corruption? You are talking about fighting Boko Haram, you are going to put in our soldiers' foot in the northeast. without arming them adequately. Not because the fund is not there, it's because the fund is in somebody's pocket. And there was a time in this country where Nigerians were supposed to buy ballistic helmet for its military men when they were going for outside, fight. These are foreign missions, and they went there with helmet for what we call locally Okada riders. That was how bad corruption has entered into. In corruption, Nigeria is not something; it's a system, and our leaders, unfortunately, have not been able to address the systemic part of the corruption in Nigeria. And until we do that, the issue of insecurity is not insecurity. The issue of insecurity is corruption.
So you're technically saying that corruption in itself has its own structure and system from which it operates out of within the Nigerian government.
Yes, that is not within the Nigerian government, within the Nigerian system.
Honorable, as regards the young people in politics, many have pushed for more inclusion of younger people in Nigerian politics. How far would you say we've come with that inclusion?
Well, thank you. I think so far, let's say from the past election in 2019, where youth came out in mass to campaign for youth inclusion, being that youth have been sidelined, from governance for a very long time, and our parents are still holding on to power. They are not ready to relinquish it. So the campaign that came about in 2019 actually paved the way for youth. For me, I would say it was a very good starting point because youth got the chance to actually participate. A lot of us got the experience, and some of us actually won their elections. So for me, I think we have gone forward, and by 2023, I think it's actually going to be, we're going to have a really, really strong presence in the political space.
Okay. Many people are fighting this due process in the Nigerian system, even going as far as shaming those who choose to do right. How have we normalized corruption in Nigeria? And why is it that in itself, it's a bigger problem, where people see those who aren't committing crimes, no matter how small the problem is, they think it's okay?
Well, first of all, the main problem I like to say in Nigeria is that we are not patriotic. And it's something that we have not built over time. So the problem we're facing today is that everybody is thinking about himself, his immediate family, and his associates. Corruption over time has eaten into every molecule of our being. It's in the system, it's everywhere, from the security man up to the chief executives. Everyone is corrupt. There's no accountability, there's no transparency. And I would say if our leaders could actually take the bull by the horn and find a way of being accountable, if the government was transparent, then I think we would have seen a great change. The past in 2015 rather, the campaign was about change, and we all expected and we thought there was going to be, a meaningful change and people will be held responsible.
But would you say the masses they are not willing to ask these questions, or they are scared to ask these questions? Or is it that the masses don't know how to unify their voice in the right direction, or they don't know how to ask the right questions?
Well, I think I would say they don't know how to unify their voice, one, because if they had that, they will understand that their voice is very strong.
Once unified? Yes.
If they have that unification. It's like, when it comes to the youths, most of the thing that actually pulls us back is, okay, we come and we form a block. But then eventually you hear some part of you, have gone to decide to actually talk on your behalf, and now they're negotiating on your behalf without your knowledge. So before you know, they say, they've collected something and they've told, your opposition, so to speak, all your secrets, everything you've actually spoken to, behind doors. So I think it's a big problem, and the masses, if they will, when you're poor, my brother, poverty is a bad thing. Because no matter how much you intend to do some things, you cannot do them. You know, so that's like I like to say, the political class, you know, when the chips are down, no matter how good you are, when they think, this guy is going to, if he wins, we'll get a better life. You probably have a covenant with them, you have a negotiation, and they will say they'll vote you. But when the chips are down and they see that 1,000 naira or 500 naira, they just think, if I don't collect this money now, you know, if he goes to Abuja, I'll not see him again. And that is the notion, because this is what has been happening. Nothing has changed over time. You know, so there's a big problem, and like I said, there needs to be a total overhaul of the system.
Thank you very much. Mr. Dari, 60 years, Nigeria is soon to be 60. And in 60 years, there have been different tales of Nigerians being hardworking businessmen, innovative and persistent. But in the Nigeria of now, before we clock 60, would you agree with that Nigeria has a conducive environment for businesses?
If you now look at the big business sphere in itself, a lot of times, for instance, let's look at the recent increase in VAT. That on its own has made it a little bit difficult for people to be able to do business successfully, because what used to be 10 naira is now about 17.5, 17 naira 50 kobo. So an average buyer will look at it and say, what is the alternative that can still cost me 10 naira? So that person selling that good at 17 naira 50 kobo is not doing business. His business is affected. Other countries are dropping VAT. The COVID-19 period, so many countries have been able to give tax holidays for, some of the businesses. In Nigeria, there's nothing like that. There's nothing like that. And even in terms of payment for services, the 7.5 VAT was supposed to take effect, I think, from February. And you find people who have, taken contracts, for instance, since 2019, October, November, they're getting their payments in March and they're charged 7.5% as VAT. It makes it very difficult for anybody to say, I want to, do business in Nigeria. Be that as it may, we won't just continue to sit on the negative side of, the effect of government and on business. We will still have to look at a little bit of success stories in terms of, people that are doing well. The agribusiness in Nigeria is not doing badly. It could be improved upon, but it's not doing badly. I think there's a little bit of improvement also in manufacturing. Presently, I learned there is a coach manufacturing company in Abeokuta, and all of these things are creating employment one way or the other. However, I believe 60 years we should be able to do better than where we are now.
Thank you very much. Barrister, back to you. How, in your opinion, how do you think we can combat corruption? And is this a fight that you honestly think we can win? And how long do you think it just might take?
Wow, Shane, those are good questions. Well, the issue is this. We've had a very serious challenge with the issue of corruption in this country. I think maybe because we use the word fighting corruption, and so everybody, if you give a man a hammer, he thinks that everything he sees is a nail, so he just wants to nail everything. So when we say fighting corruption, we think that fighting corruption is just picking up somebody, arresting, seizing, and all of that. No, we have not really addressed the issue of corruption systematically and strategically, because, like I said, it is systemic, so you have to do it systematically. What we've been doing is just recovering money. We're not actually fighting corruption. I will give you a good example which you can interact, which you can relate with. As a lawyer, we've done about 12 petitions within the past 3 weeks to the Nigerian police talking about people who swindled some persons of their money and property. And I have a good relationship with the police, especially, yeah. And the police will tell you, sorry, You are the victim. You are the, the victim is now the complainant. And they will tell you, sorry, you need to give us money we have to mobilize us.
We need to buy fuel in our car.
That is the mobilization.
We need to buy recharge card.
Yes, we need to, and all of that. I mean, this person is saying, I have been victimized. Something has been taken away from me. And the truth is that if you don't do that, the police does not move.
Right.
I mean, you have to fund. So each person becomes a local government of itself. You provide the security, you provide water. I think you have a borehole, you have a generator and all of that. So you see, that is so we need to start dealing with these things systematically. So how do you deal with it? Ask yourself some fundamental questions. The police is very important. How do we fund the police? Such that if, for example, I stay in Asokoro, the police station, the DPO, divisional police officer, has 2-3 vehicles. He has some funds. So by the time you bring a complaint, he just mobilizes 2 or 3 officers and they go without even asking you for money. So because by the time you start asking the complainant of money, so we are not dealing with that. This is Abuja, you want to apply for land. I mean, you should be able to apply for land so that you can build your property.
Yes.
Build a property for yourself and have a good thing. People have applied to get a piece of land for the past 10 years. They not even receive acknowledgement of the application. Do you know what I mean? That you write to an agency. And then they say, oh, we've been receipt of your letter dated. You need to know somebody who is a secretary to the director's girlfriend, or goes to the same church. And so it's just, all we need to do is to say, look, if any letter is written to a director within 2 days, that letter should be out. I don't need to go and arrest anybody. If I know that if I apply, I will pay 100,000, I will never get any response. So I will need to get a senator who is sitting in the committee on housing, who knows this. And so it is just like that. It's only in Nigeria somebody can steal billions and he has stolen the money in cash. Because, I mean, so now we don't even talk about millions again. Now it's in billions. You can hear of somebody, 1.5 billion was used for palliative within 3 months. And they were just, so because million is too small now. So we need to start addressing some issues. So we need to look at it systematically.
One last question, sir. You mentioned something as regards the police. Allegedly, people believe that the police force is one of the most corrupt institutions in the country. You also mentioned something about funding them properly so they can be effective. And at the same time, there's an alleged movement that wants them to defund the police department because of a certain department, I think the federal SARS and all of that. What is your take on this? Because a lot of people believe that the police is like an extra muscle for different political individuals. And just the way everything is stated, it sounds like there is bare corruption within this institution. How do you think that particular, because I think personally the police is supposed to be an arm that fights against corruption. But if they're already corrupt, how exactly do they want to do the job? So now within the police department, how can they root out corruption? Or how can they bring it down to the barest minimum so that they can be more effective in the fight against or in the struggle against corruption? Let's not use the word fight.
For the police to be able to fight corruption, the first thing we need to do is to do proper funding. But the second and the most important is our recruitment process. If you have a brother that wants to join the Nigerian police force now, and he applies, he needs to start looking for a former IG, a former CP. You need to go and meet the senator. So everything is still bastardized. We don't have a system where you just apply to be a police officer and your name is enlisted. Or you must go through the senator. And because you are going through certain persons, they don't even know who you are, they don't even know your character and all of that. So if we want to solve the issue of corruption, in not just the police, in other agencies, we need to look at 2 main issues: the recruitment process and the funding process.
Last question to the floor. There have been giant strides with conversations and organizations giving context and demanding for accountability from all, especially those in government. Are we winning the fight against corruption?
Well, I think the answer is one. You can't hide it. You just have to say no before you even go into any discussions, because there hasn't been any substance in the fight against corruption. You know, we've had instances where, you know, you just read on the paper, this one has been charged to court, this one has, but there is really nothing that has come out as something that will actually make our leaders feel as though they begin to be held accountable for their actions. Because nobody is scared. They just put you to the test of waters, and once they see that nothing is happening, they continue doing what they do. So like when this present administration came in, there was the body language, in quotes, and actually people were beginning to get serious, to be afraid. Like I was driving and I could remember giving police money, and he said, no, Buhari is the president. It was as though he was a mini god looking at them from up, you know what I mean? But when they realized that, no, this thing is not going anywhere, everybody just came back to business. So I think there's a long way to go. There's really a long way to go. There needs to be justice and fair play in our system. And we really have a lot of work to do. And I think us as youths, this is now for us to take. It's our war to fight. Because I always say this, our parents had it easy.
Yeah.
When they were in school, they had everything virtually for free. The system was working for them at the time. But they became careless with it, so to speak, and today we're receiving the backlash. We don't want the same future for our kids. Yes. So we are out to actually take the bull by the horn, and by God's grace, I would say by joining the political system, we're beginning to have a word or a say, and hopefully by 2023, youth will take over.
Looking forward to that 2023 in question. Thank you very much, Barrister. Thank you very much, Honorable. Thank you very much, Mr. Danry. These have been our guests that have spoken well, rather very well. And even I myself have picked up quite a lot. I hope you have. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Nigerian Symposium for Young and Emerging Leaders.
The conversation about Nigeria at 60 continues with Farida Abiola, Honorable Babajide Balogun, and Honorable Afiz Tau next on Rubbin Minds.
The educational system is plagued by strikes and strikes. Failure of the government to fulfill promises, bringing the fight of the academic body and governments to a yearly or a biannual duel. How can this be dealt with? Can both parties reach a resolution? Or are any of the parties being unreasonable?
Okay, I think greed is what is eating the both parties. Nobody wants to come to a compromise. The government doesn't want to come to a compromise. The educational sector doesn't want to come to a compromise. Forgetting that they are actually affecting not just the students, they're affecting themselves. They both need to come to a level ground for the goodness of the nation if they actually have anything good to offer the nation. They both need to come to a common ground. They're both being very selfish right now.
In the 60 years that Nigeria has been, the youths, how would you be able to grade the youth's involvement in its growth? Have they been significant to a set growth, or have they been, would I say, more of an effect of stagnation due to their lack of not always participating in elections and just complaining after, and sometimes contributing to the violence?
So what I'm going to say is this. So I think in the last election, quite a number of youth came out to participate, but the situation on ground is not that the youth are not coming out to participate. It's just that the people who are there do not want to leave. And that's a very, very big problem. The youth have to come together and decide that this is what they want. And like I said again, poverty, or let's say lack of, a lot of youth are not really, I wouldn't say they are not ready to work, but it's not about working a 9-to-5 job. A lot of youth want to create job, but they will say they don't have funds to get this thing done. And the government, in a way, is not helping. I don't think it's really much more on the government. The government will only do their own. But the youth that we're talking about have to come out in a way to come out and participate. Because if you don't come out and contest or of coming for a position, there's no way somebody will come out to speak for you, because the people there would rather be speaking for their own children, not you as a youth. And the problem again is this: we, the youth, are our own major problems. Why I say this is this: as a youth, you guys decide to come out to do something. At the end of the day, somebody else will join the ones there and get something off them and come back and sell the fellow youth. So I think what I believe we should do is this: let's come together and let's just agree and say this is what we want. We have countries whereby Minister of Youth is 33 years old. We have countries whereby their Prime Minister, they are quite young people and they are doing great things. Why can't we be like that? We're going to be in the diamond age, which is 60 years. Anybody who is 60 years is almost getting to, the typical age of African is, almost like 60 or thereabouts. So if we as youth can't come out and speak, nobody will speak for us.
Honorable, as Nigeria is going to be 60, and we know part of the things that helps a nation grow are the policies that are implemented. As it is, you are a member of the House and you are part of the significant people that spearhead policies and implementations. What does it take for a policy to be brought to the floor as well up until implementation?
Well, I can tell you the duty of National Assembly is to formulate laws, but it is the duty of the executive to implement the laws. If you go back history, right from during the military to the current democratic dispensation, Nigeria has one of the best policies in the world. But where the problem lies is in the implementation. And the steps you take in introducing a bill there are 3 stages: the first reading, second reading, and of course the third reading, which is the final reading, that bill or that law will be passed and it will be transmitted to Mr. President for presidential assent. And in the first reading, the title of the bill or the title of the law will be read by the Speaker. In the second reading, that's where they will debate on the advantages, disadvantages of that bill, and members will be given the opportunity to contribute, to debate on the general principle of that bill. Then the third, it will then be passed to the relevant standing committee. Example, I'm bringing a bill that has to do with education. Maybe I want to set up a university in my constituency. After that second reading, it will be channeled to the Committee on Tertiary Institutions. That committee will call for a public hearing, invite people to come and debate also, giving their own bits about that particular bill. Then from there, it will be brought back to the House, whereby the House will look at it, then it will be passed. From there, if there is a need for concurrence, since it's a bicameral legislature, it will be sent to the Senate for concurrence on that bill before the bill it is being forwarded to Mr. President for assent. As I said earlier, in terms of policies, if you remember, we had once Vision 2010, Vision 2020, a lot of good documents that if you look at them, you would think by now Nigeria is like a Dubai. But because of implementation, and we have inconsistencies in terms of continuation of these policies. In the last administration, they will bring maybe some policies. If another administration comes, they will jettison that policy and keep them and try to introduce another policy, no matter how good that policy is. But I can give it to this current administration, not because I'm a member of the administration or the same party with Mr. President. Mr. President has tried to complete some of the projects or policies that he inherited. He has tried to complete, even without even introducing new ones. In the last 4 years, all this government were busy doing was to continue abandoned projects and some policies. So I think the major problem is we should look at the implementation. If a lot of policies have been implemented, we'll not be where we are today. Because as people have been saying, Nigeria is a country that has been blessed. But at the same time, some people are saying that we have been cursed.
Honorable, in order for this change to be sped up, would you agree to a policy that says that all public workers, all elites, all the politicians' children's, every single one of them should go to a public school?
I agree 100%. Because
why can't we
if you do that, we will make sure that these schools are better.
So if we're to get that, do you think there should be a collective voice from the masses, from the people?
No. If not to
push for it.
Yeah, the masses, the people that are being governed, they are the ones that should speak up, say this is what we want. Because after 4 years, we'll still go back to them and ask for their votes. And it's like a scorecard that, okay, when you came campaigning in 2019, you promised A, B, C, D. So we're here, what have you done for us? So if that's what they want, they should channel it as a bill. We pass the bill, make it a law, so that tomorrow, like example now, look at what has been happening since the corona pandemic came. Nobody was going, health tourism totally reduced. Nobody was flying abroad. But before, somebody feeling headache, we just travel abroad. Somebody in my constituency, I have a teaching hospital. If you go and see the number of people coming from neighboring states to that particular teaching hospital, you'll be surprised. So I think, I keep telling people why people are not seeing the change now, because of the decay in the system. You can destroy a house in one day, but you cannot build the house in a day. It takes a process, it takes time. Because of the old method we are using, that's why people are not feeling, or people are not seeing the desired changes. And people just believe that they should just close their eyes and open and see things have totally changed. It's not possible. We are always blaming our leaders. We are the people that are being governed. Have we changed our attitudes? So I think these are some of the issues that they're enormous. Yeah, because nation building is a joint task.
Thank you very much, Honorable. Thank you very much, Farida. Thank you very much, Babajide. And with this, we come to a conclusion of the Nigerian Symposium for Young and Emerging Leaders. We have spoken about various topics, and I'm sure you definitely have been educated as regards the policies, the mindset, and the ideologies that these very distinguished guests have had and have brought to the table for every single one of you. Thank you very much for viewing this, and we'll hope to see you again next time. Goodbye. I'm your host, Shea Olo. Goodbye.